Okay, so I continue to record to you here. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:15 in the morning, because I had a few hours of sleep and then I woke up. Uh, just the thought was in my mind about to relate to you how Jose and I met. Well, how we met and how we spent the first night together. So I was gonna get, I wanted to show you what we did in bed and uh, you know how we spent the first night just tossing and turning mostly. Just we just got a few hours of sleep and then I think we got up and we went to maybe Dennis or some other place and ate. Uh, that's after we met at the Seagull. After this was around the time of Thanksgiving. It was that weekend, maybe that night or the night the week before. I think we had spotted each other, or this was the night that I cannot remember. I wrote this down when it happened. So either we saw each other the week before, or a few days before. Maybe I was there like maybe on a Tuesday or something, and then or on a Friday, maybe the previous night. I don't remember, or maybe that was the night that we saw each other, Thanksgiving, and then the next week, I think maybe that's when we met. So it's a little blurry in my mind exactly, but I remember that I wrote it down, that it was during Thanksgiving. I remember that I wrote it down because Jose spoke Portuguese, so I had trouble understanding even the word Jose, because I when I was at FIU, when I was studying to environmental studies. I graduated in 1985 from Florida International University, FIU, and I used to go to the library, and this was to relax, believe it or not. I used to go to the library and just go through the different magazines because it's my interest, it's my long life interest, languages. Apparently I'm not very good at it. There's some guy that they did a report on that he can be in one place like 2 weeks. He went to Iceland and started speaking Icelandic like in 2 weeks. Okay, and here I am. I've been trying to learn these languages: French, Portuguese, German, mostly. That's how I've concentrated mostly on these three languages. Besides my Spanish that's the the language in Cuba, because that's where I grew up until I was 13 years old, and then I came to the United States. So that's how I learned English, from Cuba in school, and then over here, and from maybe even from the cartoons. I used to watch cartoons when I was a kid. This was just before Castro came into power. It was black and white, and my parents had just bought a TV around 1958 or 1550, around that time, just before Castro. It was a small black and white TV back then. There was no color. Color came like in 1961 to Cuba, I believe. There was a guy called Otto Silgo that had to do with bringing TV to Cuba, and his son actually is in acts in Mexican soap operas. They left Cuba, and he went to Mexico. And so his son actually is now an actor in Mexican soap operas. But anyway, so when I was a kid, when I was barely, maybe I was very little. I remember I was very little. I used to watch the cartoons in English. So maybe that's subconsciously, even though I never learned to speak it because there was nobody to speak it with. My mother did not speak English, but we used to watch the cartoons in English. So there was nobody around the house to speak English to me. So maybe something that I just kept subconsciously in my mind. And then when it came time for me to pick it up again, that was like in 7th grade when we started learning English. 7th or 8th grade, we started learning English in Cuba. So that's how I learned. And then of course I came over to the United States when I was 14 years old. And I mentioned this before many times. So now for the first time I'm recording all this. That the movie The Mountain, with Spencer Tracy and Robert Wagner, about a plane crash up in the Himalayas. No, not in the Himalayas. I think it was some Swiss village, and the plane crashed up there, and the two brothers, Spencer Tracy and Robert Wagner, go up to the plane. Well, that movie was like on Channel 6, I think. They used to show a movie in Miami the whole month, and that was the movie the whole month, The Mountain. And that is how I learned English. I watched the movie so many times that by the end of the month, I had a better understanding of what they were saying in the movie. I was beginning to understand things. So yeah, it took me a month, man. It's not like that guy from that ended up learning Icelandic like in 2 weeks. This guy, apparently that guy has some kind of universal translator program in his brain, like in Star Trek, and he's able to just figure it out. In 2 weeks he's able to start speaking the language. Unbelievable. This is on TV. He's got like an autistic kind of photographic memory combined with some kind of universal translating program. Unbelievable. Okay, so May 4th, my birthday is coming up. Saturday, I'll be 59. I've talked about this many times because it's the 54th anniversary of the Cuban Revolution, when Castro came to Cuba 1 January 1959. And so I was born then. I was almost 5 years old then. So that was because I was born in 1954. 4 May 1954, so I was almost 5 years when Castro came into power. And so Cuba this year celebrated the 54th anniversary of the Cuban Revolution. And I was born in 1954. Now I'm going to be turning 59 Saturday, and it's the 54th Cuban anniversary of the Cuban Revolution. So these things are related in my mind, how these two numbers combine. Okay, so I was thinking that maybe I'll do something crazy, Lucas, but I don't know if I should do it before or after, and dye my hair and maybe cut my beard a little bit. I like my beard this length, actually. I like the way I look with my beard and my hair like this. Not that I have any big complex about looking at myself, because I'm not so monstrously looking that that I'm going to be confused with the Elephant Man or Joe Mantegna, Quasimodo in the movie Annabelle and Elvis. But you can see the effect of the trauma resulting from the accident that I had when I was 8 years old, and I fell and I broke my jaws, and I lost my two upper teeth, the two superior teeth, what in Spanish it will be called los dos dientes superiores del frente, frontales, I don't know, whatever, how they say it properly in Spanish, but they're called superior because in Spanish, superior means the upper. So that's the word superior in Spanish. And it comes from the Latin, when I mentioned this before, even in Germany, back then, about around the year 400, when this area of Germany was part of the Roman Empire. The only part of modern day Germany that was part of the Roman Empire. People might not know this, that a lot of, maybe people think that Germany was not part of, well, most of the northern part of Germany was not, but the rest of it was not. But this area where I used to live, back then was called Germania Superior and Germania Inferior, which has nothing to do with being superior or inferior. It just means that one is upper and the other one is lower, just like Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. And I have related this to to a future New Jerusalem, which I call Upper Jerusalem, New Jerusalem, and Lower New Jerusalem, which I have placed in Havana and Miami in the next 13,000 years. So that's how this is related. But anyway, I lost my two teeth up front, and this gap that you see nowadays is because in January 2005 they broke my jaws again. They tunneled through the roof of my mouth. They got in there through my nose, I think, and I don't know. I don't remember, but there was no like big cut or anything like that. The face was so I was so swollen that the least of the thing was where they cut to go through my nose or whatever, which might have been here. I don't remember at all how they did it, but they went through there and they tunneled, and then they broke it so that they could stretch the two jaws apart, and that because the right side of the teeth had jumped and they were inside. That's all resulting from the accident. So this gap that you see now was not there before January 2005, before the maxillofacial surgery, and that's not the result of the accident. That's the result of the first surgery, and of course, everything came to a stop when Humana refused to pay for the remaining surgery. They said that it was a pre-existing condition, and of course, this happened to me in communist Cuba. So nobody now wants to pay for it. The veterans will not pay for it. Nobody wants to do experimental surgery on me. I went to the medical students at the University of Miami at Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami. Everybody was very interested. The students were just really seemed to be really interested. The medical students, but the law prohibits it. It doesn't allow them to do this kind of experimental surgery because they could be, the laws of the United States are about suing people and things like that. So even though I volunteer my body, even if I died, I said to them that I did not care if I died or not, as long as they would try to do something to fix my jaws. I was willing to do experimental surgery. Well, they said no, they couldn't do it. But everybody was very interested. I had a bunch of medical students listening to me, and the chief of the surgery, the medical department, teaching the students and everything. Everybody was very interested. But yeah, but nothing came of it. So I also went to the Veterans Hospital. They cannot do anything about it because they said that this did not happen while I was in the surgery in the service. This is not related to it's not a service related injury. So yeah, so here I am. I'm living like this with this gap, and somebody might think that this is the way it's been, but no, that's when I broke my jaws and I lost the two upper teeth. In just a few years, my upper jaw collapsed, and that is how the right side eventually, after about 5 years or more, the right side of the teeth, they jumped and they came inside the lower teeth. So I have lived, and then the whole upper jaw collapsed, and all the teeth moved around and moved forward to fill up the gap. If you can imagine, that's a big gap. The two front teeth, the two front upper teeth, is a big gap. So that's a really big gap. So you can imagine how much all the teeth moved forward and collapsed, and that's how I ended up with this one side of the face, which is skewed to one side. It's atrophy. It's all contorted, my face. And so that's how I ended up like that. So that gap is now here because they did the first expansion surgery. So the idea was to again go back to my jaws about some months later, and that never happened because Humana refused to pay for the surgeries. So nobody now will do it. Now Medicaid will not cover it. Nobody will do it. So I'm living with this condition, which drives me crazy. But now that I am disabled, I'm able to relax enough that I can take it better. But when people make noise, like the other night, people came in here making noise, that blaring their sound that they blare from the car, and it drove me crazy. My stomach went crazy again. I spent a few hours like that. I went to bed finally, but every time I hear this sound, just really terrorizes me. It really traumatizes me. This is why I had to leave Miami after a long life of living in Miami. And it's gonna reach 14 minutes, so I better cut this again and do another segment. So remember Vega, in the Summit Triangle, 25 light years from Earth, but 800,000 years to travel there, so it's not gonna happen. This time it looks like, and so it's Monday, it's Thursday, after May Day, so it's Thursday, 2nd of May, 2013, and it's 2:29 in the morning, and here I am kind of in the dark with you again, Lucas. I enjoy being with you, man. I enjoy talking to you all the time. I wish I could live with you. Okay, so thank you very much, Lucas. Thank you for being such a hospitable host and showing so much interest in my case. Okay, let me cut it here. It's 14 minutes and 29 seconds, 30